My name is Joyce Tuttle. I live in East Hampton town, about halfway between the village of East Hampton and the village of Sag Harbor, and I've been there about 22 years.
My name is Catherine Culp, and I'm a resident in Springs. We are at the LVIS thrift shops, and I am the floor manager there. We couldn't keep pajamas and robes and sweatsuits in stock. They immediately went out the door as soon as we got them in. We had an absolutely amazing selection of stilettos and pumps and things to wear to charity events and concerts, and that wasn't what was selling.
There you go. Perfect. LVIS takes care of the nature trail. It does all sorts of downtown beautification. There are specimen trees and memorial trees all over the village, and we have a very big high school scholarship program. At this point, we just went from supporting 19 students to 24 students who need a good scholarship.
When we came back after we were closed for 3 months, we began receiving more donations than we ever had. We also had to figure out a way to be certain that these were not contaminated. And we decided to quarantine the donations for a week in our outdoor storage areas.
Got an approval from the village to get big pods so that the donations could come in there and we could keep them separate. We had a spraying machine so we could disinfect things. Everybody wore masks, everybody wore gloves.
So they would sit there for 7 days and then they would be brought into the shops.
We found in the beginning that people were not donating as much as they used to donate, and then all of a sudden, as people began to feel safer, the donations exploded.
We had many people come from the city and set up a living situation in what is normally just their vacation home. As such, a lot of them were condensing. So they were extremely generous, and we had a tremendous amount of all departments: clothing, housewares, linens, and furniture. We were very, very lucky to receive as many as we did.
Our annual fair, which is always the last Saturday in July, they've been doing it for probably 100 years at least, almost as old as the organization. And we got thousands of people coming to this fair, and it was determined that it was not a good thing to do. We did not have the fair 2 years ago. Last year, people felt safer, and we had more of a mini fair. And lo and behold, as a big surprise, discovered that the mini fair actually, while it didn't have as many attractions for the public, it did well financially, and it brought in a lot of people, and it brought back quite a lot of volunteers who felt safe. So they'll have another mini fair. It'll be a little more maxi this year because we'll add on, particularly, we lost the things to attract children to come. But in reinventing what to do with the fair, they also brought in some new possibilities to make it less work, less expenses to put on a fair, and to use our property and build it from there.
One of the most memorable conversations I ever had was with a woman who I was acquainted with, a customer who I recognized that would come in and shop prior to the pandemic. After the pandemic, she was coming in every day at about the same time in the morning. And one morning when I greeted her and said hello, she felt a need almost to apologize, or was maybe a little embarrassed by the fact that she was coming in every day. And she said to me, Katie, she said, this has become a part of my morning routine that I look forward to every day. She said, I don't get out many other places. There still aren't many places open, and this has become almost a social outing for me more than just a shopping outing.
People who came in and were shopping for the first time would say they felt so liberated. They were out, they could see people, they were talking again, they were shopping again, they were enjoying just learning how to recognize somebody from the nose up.
It was also a place where the students who were not able to be in school were able to come in, and we had more foot traffic than we ever expected.
It was almost like we had become therapists, and they wanted to tell us their experiences of the last year or two, and to confide and tell us, you know, it was sort of like that moment on the subway when somebody turns to you and says something very personal and you know you're never going to see them again. That people were opening up in that way and coming and relieved and happy and wanting to hug. Can you hug me? Can I hug you? I haven't seen you in such a long time. And sharing the experience of the pandemic. And for the most part, I felt people were really nicer. Patience. I would say I learned a lot about patience. Being patient, listening, being careful, but also I did not want to isolate myself. I wanted to be out in the world and experience nature and people, and but I felt I became a much more patient person through the experience.
Reprioritizing. I think that it made everybody take a closer look at their lives and the way they were spending their time. You were not able to go out the door to work every day. You were forced to stay home with your family, have food around the table, and spend time with each other, face to face, not just texting over a telephone. There's some people who have decided, there's the Great Resignation, where people realized maybe that they were working their fingers to the bone for what exactly, and they thought, what is it I really want to do with my life? So I think a lot of people had time to readdress what was really important and hopefully get their priorities straight.